If you're living in one of India's top cities, Mumbai region, Delhi-NCR, Bengaluru, Pune, Chennai, or Hyderabad, earning 12 to 15 lakh a year, you've probably hit a dead end searching for a home to buy. Let's get real. With that income, your max EMI budget is around 45,000 rupees a month, which means you're looking at home priced up to 60 lakh rupees. But here's the kicker. Affordable, well-located housing options in India's top cities are vanishing fast. Let's unpack why. Four important industry leaders join me today to answer that very important question. Paman Irani, CMD Rustomjee Group, Aditya Virvani, COO Embassy Group, Rohit Kera, MD Gera Development, Ashwinder R. Singh, VC and CEO BCD Group. Let me ask you one question. What will bring developers back into launching projects with apartments priced at 40 to 60 lakh rupees in India's top metros?
Yeah, Manisha, there's a couple of different things that are at play here. I think the most important is that our cost of construction has gone up substantially. That's one thing that's happened. I think the other aspect is, and this is on the supply side, the other aspect is GST set-offs, which were available for real estate, is no longer available. Therefore, that pushes the cost up even higher. So on the cost side, we've seen inflation, we have a GST impact. And on the other side, what's really interesting is developers will always supply what the market is demanding. And we just don't see it. We don't see a massive amount of demand at that size and at that price point anymore. I think over the years when we had the prices were flat to negative, people had increments in their salaries. COVID has pushed people to actually go out there and go for better, bigger homes, and developers are actually catering to that need. So it's a demand and a supply problem I see.
Mm-hmm. So are you saying when, estimates say that about 500 million or 500 million people in this country, and of course, top 7 cities apart, are in that income bracket of 5 to 15 lakh rupees. Where has the demand disappeared then for 40 to 60 lakh homes?
So, we've actually seen, if you look at our Pune research report that we put out, right, there's been a tremendous shift towards the larger sizes and to the higher price points. And as a result, developers have started catering to that demand. Now, one would expect that you would have other people who would come into the market and also take care of the lower end of the spectrum. But it's just not the case. I think there's probably infrastructure related issues. These homes then go to the far-flung areas and people just don't want to go to those outskirt areas without proper infrastructure. So I think it's an infrastructure challenge then for us to make that happen.
Of course, if your question is why we cannot launch those apartments in the city of Mumbai, I can tell you a few things. One is that, markets always reward revenues or profits. And there really isn't that kind of a margin that is available in the very affordable segment. What I'd like to call affordable for Mumbai is the 1.5 crore kind of apartments. And for those, there are good margins because of the government's various schemes that have come out. So you can choose the scheme depending on the location of the project, etc., and the size of the project, and be able to build apartments that are in the 1.5 crore price range and even get a return. I think land prices, premium prices, construction prices, when you talk of Mumbai FSI, you're talking about, I would say, anywhere between 35 and 50 floors in terms of buildings. The construction costs are up. And of course, then one has to factor in risk and delays. So that kind of makes it more and more not lucrative for us to go into that space in the Mumbai metropolitan region. But in the extended suburbs, that is at Dombivli, Vasai Virar, we are definitely doing homes in the 45 and 60 and up to 80 lakhs rupees as an apartment.
And what are the sizes of these apartments?
So at 45 lakhs, you're talking about 400 odd square feet, which is a good 1-bedroom hall kitchen with 2 bathrooms, a proper sized hall, a proper sized bedroom, and a proper sized kitchen. With regards to what we're doing in Dombivli, they are the slightly smaller 2-bedroom hall kitchens, which is about 600 square feet, which is going at about 60 to 80 lakhs rupees an apartment.
It really comes down to viability. And if you think about real estate, if you think about construction costs and land costs, these are your 2 primary costs. You do have approvals as well, but construction cost has seen a significant increase due to inflation, due to various different reasons. And if you see, even with bringing the most efficiencies into construction, where you do everything in-house, you manage labor yourselves, you can maximum build a, let's say, 1,000 square foot at 30 lakhs. Now, 30 lakhs is your cost. You're trying to sell at 40 to 60 lakhs. You also have land, which has just gone skyrocketed. And really, for me, it comes down to infrastructure. For us as Indians, it's very hard to reach a place where you can actually buy affordable land today. Unlike China, unlike the US, where you have massive highways where you can commute long distances and land is affordable, unfortunately, our infrastructure has lacked. And that's really been the problem for affordable housing. It just makes margins too tight. And you see developers then working on the premium, working on luxury, because there's a lot of room there as well, and a lot of volume to cater to with higher margins. So it just boils down to the margins. I think land is going through a funny phase where landowners are expecting prices to keep going up, and you're actually seeing a slowdown in supply. You're seeing a slowdown in transactions as well. And I think that's going to play out. A cycle is going to play out, and land will eventually adjust, which will hopefully make this affordable segment more favorable for developers.
Rising land cost, Manisha, rising construction cost, and there is a shift to a premium segment where the consumer itself is moving towards that segment which nobody talks about. So these two, three reasons are the real reasons for this segment not getting that kind of an attraction at the moment.
Are you saying that there is no demand left for apartments which are priced between 40 to 60 lakhs?
I'm saying there is a shift, and people do not want to associate themselves with an affordable segment. So there has to be a change in the positioning of the way we look at affordable segment, both from a consumer standpoint and, as I said, from a developer standpoint. I'm not saying the demand has completely moved out, but from a developer standpoint, the land costs have gone up, the construction costs have gone up, and the related costs are so high that it doesn't make economic sense to focus on this category.
Responses and feedback on social media saying developers want fat margins, and that's the reason why they don't at all want to be in this segment of affordable mid income housing.
So look, real estate is a business like any other, and obviously everybody wants to achieve the highest and maximum profit. So that's not really, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'll also tell you, developers are extremely opportunistic, and if we see that there's a demand in a segment, right, then we will certainly provide inventory and cater to that segment. It may not be XYZ developer, but somebody else or the other will come in and cater to that. The other aspect is also the cost of land. In many of these cities, FSI has gone up and the cost of land has just skyrocketed. And given cost of land and overall cost, and there's no margins left for that smaller size for developers to actually go out and make money on that. And the last thing which I'll say is on profitability. If you look at the financial results of all the listed developers, even though there's been a price rise, there hasn't been a corresponding increase in the profitability of the listed players, right? And this is public data. So there's obviously something else at play.
Everybody thinks a developer is making a ton of money. Yes, it's true. We have to work on certain margins. And I'd like to say that, after the gross margins, there are costs like interest, delays, risks, administrative costs, which kind of reduce the overall margin. And ours is a high risk business, Vanisha, as you do understand. So for a high risk business, you cannot have the manufacturing kind of margins, which is 5 to 7%. You have to keep a slightly healthy margin so that if there are any kind of hits from the side, you're still able to kind of sustain them and continue with your business as normal. So yes, our margins are above what manufacturing industry would look at, but they aren't those fat margins that people are looking at. As a matter of fact, around the country, we've seen developers are more now relying upon volume as a premium rather than trying to look at just a price appreciation as a premium for their apartments.
I think it's a misconception because there is nothing called fat margin in the real estate industry today with the kind of land costs there are. See, the consumers don't understand that the raw material in real estate is land, which has doubled in the last 3 years. So from their perspective, they've always felt that developers want fat margins, which might have been true in 2000, 2010, not in the current era. At a policy level, there needs to be a shift where the cost of approvals are also very high. You look at markets like Mumbai and some other markets where the cost of approvals are very high. You have to distinguish between affordable housing and non-affordable housing. If there is a focus that is required, then your GST, the way it works on affordable housing, has to change. The tax breaks for the consumer has to change. There has to be some pull effect. The partnership has to be between the government as well as the developers. And the other aspect is that you have to reduce the cost of approvals and fees if it is an affordable housing project, so that somebody, you collectively work towards it, and focus on this segment of 40 to 60 lakhs.
Give me one or two things which can bring top developers back into this segment. After all, it's too large a market to ignore. Multiple estimates put India's current count of middle class at almost 500 million, and a majority of them are earning between 5 to 15 lakh rupees per annum.
Yeah, no, it is massive. I mean, we need to build millions of houses every year, and we don't even do 1 million. We do 600,000, 700,000 units, and that's all catered in this premium luxury segment. So, the bottom of the pyramid is where the growth of this country is, where the volumes are, and where the excitement actually should lie. Now, I could sit here as a developer and say, we want more subsidies, we want more reforms. Yes, that does help. I think the smaller things that we could expect or could hope for is, help on approvals, single window, make it easier, help on those small things. But really, Manisha, it just goes back to the thing that I've said throughout this interview, which is infrastructure. This country is lagging on infrastructure. This whole decade should be a focus on infrastructure. That will ultimately help land costs be affordable, help developers build in that segment and still make money. We need to be able to buy land in a reasonable manner. And I would also say we need to look at our land reforms. I think we can work on policy, make it easier for government to acquire lands as well as being fair, compensate them notionally, compensate landowners notionally. And of course, infrastructure will lead to more accessibility of land. We're a massive country and there's plenty of land. And that's going to help us cater to the millions of houses that we need to build.
Manisha, let me put it to you differently. You take any apartment building in Mumbai, and when you talk Mumbai, I'm talking of this, the suburbs of Mumbai as well. You're talking of anywhere between, I told you, 35 and 50 floor towers, right? When you talk of buildings of that height, you got to take into consideration the earthquake resistance that our buildings have got to have, and of course the car parking requirements that are there. And then again, when you take a very high-rise building, you got to talk of things like vertical transportation, safety features, firefighting abilities. I can tell you quite confidently, and we do a lot of these buildings, that roughly on an average, if I was doing a 50-story building, I don't think I'd be able to build it in your carpet area, just to give you an idea, cost not under 9,000 rupees a square foot. So you look at that and say that if you're talking of 9,000 rupees a square foot, and you're looking at 600 square feet, which is the minimum size according to me for an apartment to be able to accommodate a family, a nice small 2-bedroom apartment, you're talking about 54, 55 lakhs right there. And then add to that the entire cost of approvals, add to that the cost of land, add to that the cost of interest, add to that the cost of taxes. I don't think it's possible to give an apartment in the city of Mumbai, even if the government should give us land for free.
The upcoming union budget do anything at all? Or when Creda and Naredko go to the finance ministry asking for SOPs and tax breaks in the name of more affordable housing, it's actually all just optics.
The challenge is that 50, 60 lakh price point, which is that in between, like you said, 10 to 15 lakh segment, where those consumers who are taxpayers are being sort of edged out. The government needs to bring in some sort of incentives. Frankly, it doesn't have to be to the developers. Let them give the incentive to the home buyer.
Okay,
Right?
which are these two incentives that you feel should come in this union budget?
Look, I think if the government gives a greater deduction of the interest payments from people's income, to say the 100% of the interest that you pay out for buying your home can get written off from your income, and you don't pay tax on it. I think that'll be a huge boost and a
Wow,
huge
here we are
saving.
struggling to get 2 lakhs, interest and principal repayment tax break that we have up on home loans to 5 lakhs. You're saying write off the entire interest
Manisha,
payment
you
or set
asked.
it off against income.
You asked what look, I'm talking about what sets this segment on fire and caters to those aspirations of that entire audience across the country, right?
Mhm.
Now, you ask for more, you may get, 2 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs. They may turn on and say, do it on a step up basis. The government could even come up and say something like, okay, first year, we'll give you this much, but in the next 2 years later, it drops down and steps down, right? So you incentivize people to go out and buy that today. Because here's the thing with real estate, once you buy it today and you have your EMIs going on, as your salaries rise over time, right, you end up with much more disposable income in the future. So, can the government actually step in for the first few years for people? And when their salaries rise, then they can afford to pay the higher EMI.
See, I think the most important thing is 3 4 years back, the loss from house property, which is the interest on your EMI, was not limited. What happened is that the moment this interest from EMI, which is the loss from house property, was restricted to 2 lakhs, this really had a huge impact, because if you do that, there is a good disposable income that can be transferred within this segment. You can prepone the buying decision, and a lot of action can come in this particular segment, because this is a price sensitive segment. The other thing, I don't know whether it is related to the budget or not, but the government and these industries body have to come together to kind of figure out where they release land at a subsidized rate near metros, where public transport is there only and only for affordable segment. They have to figure out that the public private partnership first needs to be done, focused on affordable segment, where they say only this kind of housing is going to come, this will be the price, this will be the size, and then they release land where public transport is there, so that people get an incentive to buy it in centralized places where, like near metros, there is a lot of land which is there, and strategically that can be released, and a lot of good urban planning can happen. And this, Manisha, I know you work a lot on this area as an activist also. The moment you release more housing near these cluttered places, a lot of traffic issues can also be handled very well, because then the people staying there will not take out their own vehicles, and they will take public transport, go from one end to the other end, work and come back.
So, Manisha, first of all, if you're someone who's looking into a looking glass and telling me that Madam Finance Minister will give us 75 lakhs as the price of an affordable home, I'm very, very happy to hear that. But as of right now, that price range is about 45 lakhs in which you get any kind of GST benefit. The one thing that we've been reaching out time and again is to say that input tax credits become extremely important for a developer who's doing lower cost housing. And when you talk about 18% on all services and products that we use, and then add to that 5% to be paid by the landowner, sorry, by the purchase of the apartment, that adds a lot of pennies to the entire cost, and they just simply become unaffordable. So input tax credits would be a great way to start off the year. I think the rest of it would be credit link guarantee schemes where up to about 70 lakh rupees would be able to be given to a homeowner to be able to buy a home, and there's a guarantee so that his interest cost can be reduced, and up to about 30 lakhs can be given for home improvement costs. As we are aware that just buying a home is not enough, but you got to furnish it, you got to provide a proper infrastructure inside the house, that is everything from the kitchen to the bedrooms, to the wardrobes, to the furniture in the halls, etc. So about 30 lakh rupees over there. If this was given, it would be great. And also, if you can reduce or you can increase under 24B, the set off that one gets against the interest paid on the home. So today, your ceiling on that is about 2 lakh rupees as a set off you get. If that can be increased to about 7.5 lakh rupees, that would also allow people to kind of be able to set off their income and not pay a tax against, let's say, a home purchase. And I think this is a great move. It's a win-win because of the kind of indirect taxes that the government does get out of every square foot of homes that have been created. And when more and more homes get created, they also become an adder to the overall economy of the city itself, because the person who's residing in a place needs all the basic services, whether it's a school, a hospital, a mall, just gardens, just the
Right.
services that are needed accordingly. Yeah.
No, I think it's honestly a bit more than just the budget expectations, because I hear developers cry a lot about subsidies and GST, etc. I think it's way more than that. I would love to encourage more private public partnerships that will help infrastructure, that will help housing, make the approval process simpler. I know it's state specific, but a single window makes so much sense. It eases up the timelines and the costs from us. Construction costs, I'm not sure how much we can do as a country. I think it's stabilized now and we're not seeing this go up too much. I think we've been great as a country the way we've navigated through inflation, and that's reflecting right now. But I think, working together with the government would be great. And, we're hopeful for a big infrastructure budget this year.
Thank you very much for joining me today.